barricades whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right. Hey. Hopefully we are all online and that you can hear me. Can I get a wave from backstage from 1-1? Making sure. Okay, good. You can hear me. Fantastic. Welcome to the show on 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, our regular time. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I don't know that I'm actually I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be here for the whole time. However, my trusty sidekicks and panelists should keep the show going, and I will probably slip in here from time to time. We have a lot of stuff going on over here in my house today. I almost canceled, and I was like, you know what? It's important to stay consistent and stay here, and wanted to say hi to people and make sure you know everything's good. And again, panelists are more than ready to carry the show, and I can slip in and out as I've got a few things going on here at my house. And so here's the thing I want to do. I want to cover a little bit of news real quick off the top of the hour, some updates about some things that are going on. I'll bring the panelists up on stage. And then once we get them going and I say my hellos to people and the panelists, I will step aside for a little bit. I will probably be back before you guys finish. So hopefully bear with me on that. As far as news going on in my cases, for those who are not familiar, I cover 5 cases. The top one, again, to my surprise, Idaho 4, because even after the plea deal video by Brian Koberger. More and more stuff is coming out due to public records requests. And as those records come out, we're seeing problems with this case, such that if any jury had been able to see these things, it would have been exculpatory information. So now we have questions. And as you know, my channel has pressured for the Attorney General's office to consider opening a criminal investigation or potential criminal investigation in this case, because we believe that there were some steps that were done incorrectly that led to a conviction. And we're not 100% sure they got the right guy. In fact, I'm almost certain they didn't get everyone that was involved in that crime. I'm like, personally, I'm 90%, 99%. Okay, 95. I'll do 95% certain that they didn't get everybody that was involved in that. Okay, 99. You know what? Fuck it. 99% certain they didn't get everybody that's involved in that crime. So I want to press for the full transparency of what happened. I say it over and over again. What I can tell you is it didn't happen the way that they said it did. I can guarantee you it did not happen the way that it said it did. So it'd be nice if we could get some answers. Whether we will or not, we don't know, but we're pressing on. We've got attorneys that join us, talk about it, how they basically agree. I want to cover a little bit of news about the letter writing campaign. I did get a couple of letters from the Idaho State Police Department. They kind of had a peripheral role in the sense that Moscow Police Department was, of course, the primary investigator. FBI was co-located with them. They had a major role. Idaho State Police was brought in as well. If you go to the Attorney General's office for an investigation, it appears that Idaho State Police would be the ones to help assist in that kind of investigation of another department. So in that regards, I've been sending letters to Idaho State Police as well as the Attorney General's office and Moscow, letting them know what I'm looking for and what I want to find in the documents. Idaho State Police has reported back on a couple of the requests that I made. They gave me tracking numbers only to return. These tracking numbers are now being closed because we have no records that you're asking for. So that was the response on a couple of things. To be fair, it was a little bit of a shot in the dark what I had done. I was asking primarily for WSU surveillance footage of the alleged white Elantra leaving Pullman's campus. I believed multiple agencies, including Idaho State Police, got copies of those files. So I was asking each one of them for their copies to kind of compare what they had. But their response, as well as I can understand it as an armchair kind of legal guy, is we're not the official holder of that record, so we don't have to give you anything. So that was kind of their answer. Like, I know damn well they probably have copies of those things, but they're like, hey, we're not the ones who are the official holder of records, so we're not going to show you anything on that, which kind of sucks, because really what I wanted to find at the end of the day is, does the version of the video you have match the version that Moscow Police Department has, match the version that the FBI has? But apparently, at the moment, it looks like they're going to say, hey, look, that's not officially our record, so we don't have to show it to you, which would be interesting. Now, granted, they may not have it. I don't think that's true. I think they have it, but for the time being, the answer is thank you for opening these requests. We're not the official keeper of those records, so we have nothing to show you. So we're learning the business as we go. The whole public records request. Similar letters went into the people who do hold the records, Moscow Police Department. So we'll see if they actually the records I'm talking about specifically is actually WSU. So Pullman. Pullman Police Department and WSU campus both are potentially the owners of that original footage, which may have been turned over to Moscow Police Department, so they may be the owner. Whatever the case may be, we'll figure out who is the official record holder, and we'll get those from them. But Idaho came back and said they're not the official record holder of surveillance cameras on Stadium Way and Nevada Street and those kind of things. So we keep pressing forward. In the Luigi Manjone case, Luigi Manjone's suppression hearings have wrapped up, and unbelievably, I had to double check. Somebody told me this, and I'm like, that can't be the answer. They're literally not going to rule on the judge, Caro, said that they're not going to rule on the suppression hearings until May. Why the hell do you need till May to make a ruling on the suppression hearings? That's ridiculous. Now, granted, Caro did say that there's a possibility that he will rule sooner than that, but it's like May 23rd that they're going to like officially rule on the suppression hearings. That is asinine. That's just flat out delay. That it is what it is, people. Either it was or it wasn't a legal arrest. One, of course, is going to be on stage today, and he talked about Terry stops, Terry frisks, some of the things that came up in the Luigi Manjone thing to try to share with you information about whether or not it was legal or not. By the way, before I bring my panelists up, I was disturbed to see an article that said that the officers in Altoona tried to maintain that there wouldn't have been an arrest if Luigi Manjone had not lied about his name, and that by him lying about his name, that's why he got arrested. Which is funny because I pointed out over and over again, in Altoona, Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania, it is not illegal to provide a false identification to a police officer unless you've been informed you're under investigation. I covered the law. I covered the appellate law upholding that, and yet the officer flat out said he was arrested because he gave us false identification. And that's why we arrested him. And I don't understand how that's still sticking in the narrative. We literally read the law. Unless they changed the law since maybe I was reading an old law, Pennsylvania, that's been revised and I made that mistake. Is that a possibility? I don't know. I've had other police officers who've reviewed the law and said, yeah, that's what the law says. And again, the appellate courts have upheld. If you've not been informed that you're under investigation, you can provide false identification. I know it seems like a complete shocker to a lot of people. And that's not how it works in other states and other jurisdictions, but it does work that way in Pennsylvania. And yet the Pennsylvania police are trying to say, well, Luigi Manjone wouldn't have been under arrest if he had just given us his real name from the very beginning, which is horseshit. That's not true. They would have arrested him anyways. But anyways, point being is that's my little side tangent. Those are the biggest news. Not anything big to report right now in Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann's case. We are tracking and paying attention to Attorney John Ray's lawsuit that he's bringing against Charles Peter Hackett, Dr. Hackett, who basically gave conflicting testimony, changed his story about the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert, which led to the whole discovery of the Gilgo 4 that started the whole eventual arrest of Rex Heuermann, an alleged serial killer in New York. And so that we're going to still track John Ray's lawsuit against Peter Hackett. Again, John Ray is not alleging that Peter Hackett did the murders. What he's saying is that essentially he hampered the investigation by lying and misleading law enforcement as to what happened that night when Shannon Gilbert came to his house asking for help. And he said, hey, I took her in, I gave her medication, and I sent her on her way, and that was the last I ever saw. And then later changed his story and said, I never saw that night. I don't know what you're talking about. That was hampering that investigation and led to delays, which could have made critical differences. And so that lawsuit's going forward, and we're going to pay attention to that in great detail. So let me bring up my guests. Let's go 1-1 and turn this microphone on. I'll try to turn your microphone on. How you doing?
Good. How was everything?
Good. I was wondering if you and I are, since you have almighty godlike powers on my channel now back behind the stage, if you're trying to unmute your mic while I'm trying to unmute your mic, and we're just toggling each other's mic back on and off. So what's up? What's going on with you tonight? I detect a little cold in your voice.
Yeah,
Robin was noticing that as well. Yeah, you doing all right?
Bit. Yeah, I'll be fine. Trucking along.
I'll be
fine. You mentioned some stuff there with the Luigi thing. I did a pretty good deep dive into it, and this officer wants to double down, and I'll triple down that arrest was not good. The Terry stop was good.
Yeah.
They had every reason. I evaluated I did it on stream. We listened to the 911 call, and I took notes, and I tried to do it as if I was responding to the job. Their Terry stop was absolutely 100% good from the begining to initiate the Terry stop. Yeah. However, and they don't necessarily have to they didn't have to tell Luigi that he's under investigation to ask him questions. However, it depending on what they're going to ask him. If they're going to ask him, just routine stuff, they're good to go. If they're going to start asking him about things that very specific have to do with a crime, that was my whole big thing that I talk about, how I was taught. Custody versus interrogation equals Miranda. He would have to be given his Miranda rights. So the intricate thing about this is people will probably what happens, this is why because we have this at the police department. We have crimes that happen, and obviously we have video, New York City, we get pictures and video all over the place, right? So sometimes we get a photo of someone and we don't know what their name is, right? We just have a photo. This is the person that's wanted for the robbery or whatever. Well, really wasn't too much of that you could see from that video, from what the shooter is. Really, you couldn't really make that much out. So
yeah,
there's no wanted. It's not like there was no issue like, oh, this is we have a wanted, probable cause, what we call an I-card, probable cause to arrest. We know, and we definitely didn't know, oh, it's, Joseph X. This is the guy, Joseph X. He's wanted in this homicide. They don't know who he is. They don't know who he is. So they're going off this Terry stop, and they basically like backpedaling. They jumped the gun, and really all they had at the end of the day with everything, that info should have been, would he may have ultimately wound up being arrested down the line, possibly, but the info they had should have just been forwarded to further group, FBI, whatever. They had no reason to really hold him further than a brief amount of time. They didn't have enough. There wasn't enough.
I think another mistake they made, and I know a lot of people here are probably wanting to hear Idaho 4 stuff, but we'll get back to that in a minute. But I think another mistake they made, and I can't remember the timing exactly, and it hasn't been made a big deal by the defense yet, but it seemed that there was a moment before Luigi Manjone was informed he was under investigation and Mirandized, which again happens to be, he wasn't informed he was under investigation until like 17 or 18 minutes into the investigation, and wasn't Mirandized until after that. One of the mistakes they feel like they made was they even asked him at one point, "What's the matter? You don't want to talk to us?" And he said no. And yet they continued to question him.
Yeah.
And so having this attitude of you're free to go, but it was clear, and one could argue Luigi Manjone did not believe he had the right to remain silent, because he told them flat out, "I don't want to talk to you." He's like, "What's the matter? You don't want to talk to us?" And he's like, "No." And yet they continued the interrogation. And so that could be a problem for them as well, a misstep as well.
Yeah, definitely was bad on many angles. And then,
all right, we're going to bring Robin up real quick. And Robin, let's see, there's Robin, and let's unmute. And unless she tries to toggle her camera at the same time I do, and we're all fighting for a microphone. I tried to untoggle you, and I couldn't. So I feel like you got me.
There we go.
You guys are overriding my own permissions. I can't even do anything unless you guys do it. How you doing tonight, Robin?
All right, I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Excellent.
Yeah, sure, you're a little under the weather there, 1-1.
Yeah, a little bit, but I'll be fine.
I will say this before, like I said, I need to take a little bit of break. I want to say some hellos to people very personally, and then I'm gonna let you guys take over the show for a little bit, because I got some things going on in the background. I will say this. It's pretty exciting times. Even my own team on camera doesn't know all this going on. I've got a lot more people that are emailing me. I got people that are calling me. I've got tips and pictures and interviews and, hey, did you see this in this document? So like everyone's jumping on board now that they know that we're doing a formal, public records request and stuff like that. And so we're getting a bunch of leads faster than we can keep up with right now. So we are working a lot on the Idaho 4 case, and we believe that. And I've reached out, by the way. There's a group, I didn't even know about them. There's a group called FIRE, that their whole purpose is it's a bunch of attorneys that basically focus on civil liberties and freedom of speech issues, particularly freedom of speech issues. And this advocacy group of lawyers takes on cases that people, and they'll do it basically for free, that people submit and say, hey, look, this is a problem with freedom of speech. The one that I submitted to them was Cy Ray still being gagged to this day, not being allowed to talk about the case and what his expert opinion would have been. And I think that there's a potential problem with the judge continuing to not allow Cy Ray to give his opinion now that the case is over. Case is over. Why can't Cy Ray tell us what he thought about it? And so I've submitted a request to the FIRE team as well to say, hey, can you put pressure on the judge on the reasons why Cy-Ray is not allowed to talk to the public like anybody else. Why are the families allowed to tell you everything they feel about how the verdict was and how they feel about Bill Thompson, how they feel about the judge? Everybody's allowed to talk, but who's not allowed to talk? Cy-Ray, the one person who basically a lot of people think Cy-Ray had evidence Bryan Kohberger was going the opposite direction of the murders that night, and it was going to testify so, but they won't let him talk, and they won't let him talk even after the crime. How is that a case? After the plea deal, they're still not letting Cy-Ray talk about what he knows. And again, for those who don't understand, Cy-Ray is the expert in timing advance records. He wrote the books. He literally teaches officers. He wrote the software that they use to do timing advance records. And he is always, in his entire career, hundreds of times, always testified for the prosecution to help put people away using cell phone data. And for the first time in his entire career, for the first time ever, he came out in support of the defense saying, you guys are lying about the timing advance records. And the judge, Hippler, called him a conspiracy theorist, and to this day will not allow him to talk. That to me is just potentially criminal. I think it's ridiculous. And so, All right, guys, I want to say some hellos real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys take over for a while if you guys can, because I've got a lot of stuff going on. I will try to dip back in. Amanda's welcome to the house. Essie's backstage. Essie beat Amanda tonight. Welcome. Daenerys Stargarian. I always do that. I have that problem. And a whole bunch of regulars I see that I see all the time. I had a whole bunch of names. We got Troubled Ocean in here as well. Everything Me as well. Thank you so much. Big supporter of the show. Row I4G. That's a newer name. I don't remember that one. Poetic Justice seen before as well. Robin, of course, is on stage, so I don't have to say hi to her. Mike or Michelle F. That seems like a newer one, or is it? Maybe, I don't know. So Much Corruption is another one. Hello from Ohio, DA, panel mods, and all of the den. That's very cool. Very, very cool. I love when people shout out where they're at. Leslie and Billy, welcome to the show as well. DKM905. Lots of cool names in here. Leslie and Billy, did I already shout you out once before? So, and Claire Riley, if I'm pronouncing that right. Bianca Jane, so many cool names that I've seen here many, many times. I love that. And some names that are new, like Kimmy Poliana. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that seems like it's a new name because I've never tried to slaughter that name saying it before. So that seems new. Sinaj Nilpolaj. I can't even pronounce that. I'm horrible with pronunciations. Not as bad as some, but pretty bad. Susan Russo, Crime and Chaos, welcome as well. That's Crime and Chaos sounds like they're a YouTube channel. Is that a YouTube channel that I don't know? Twiz in the house. Twiz and I have exchanged some conversations. We're trying to work out some things to have some conversations about some stuff and see what he knows as well. Silenced Unchained, welcome. Foxy Rose, welcome. All these very cool names in here. Thank you so much for coming and being part of the show. And I can't even pronounce the JP in the house. So there you go. Pronounce that. Pronounce that one. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Panelists, I hope that you guys, you may have Joe from State of the Jeep drop in. You may have Jason from SD's Crime Maze drop in. I will say, maybe I'm not going to name any names, but I've gotten a little bit more irritated at some people, one in particular that keeps hammering our show for the last year, and I've been way liberal. So I'm shutting some people down. Like, if all you have is negative shit to tell people on this channel why we're a bunch of idiots and not accepting that the only person who did this is Bryan Kohberger and we need to get over ourselves, then you shouldn't be on my channel. Why in the hell, if any of you are out there, you come here on a regular basis to shit on my channel, you really need to find something else to do, because I don't mind people disagreeing with me. That's not the problem. What I mind is coming on and heckling every single night, calling me an idiot. That starts to wear thin, and it has worn thin with me. So we're shutting down a few of those people that all they have to contribute to the conversation is, you're an idiot. The guy who's guilty pled guilty. Get over it. You don't need to tell me that every single night. I'm tired of it. I'm done with that. So with that in mind, mods, do your due diligence, keep that shit to a minimum, because it's wearing thin. It's wearing thin. And again, I don't mind you asking real legitimate questions. There are people, and I understand, believe me, for those who follow Idaho 4, some of us are tired of hearing, I don't understand. Can you please explain to me why you guys think he's not guilty when his DNA was literally at the house, right? So I understand. There are people who have not heard the whole story. They don't understand the fight over the DNA. They don't know how the DNA got to the house. And they legitimately think, because they're coming in late, I don't understand why you guys are talking about this. I thought his DNA was at the house. And that's a legitimate question.
Mhm.
And then we need to remember as panelists that that's not always a sarcastic asshole kind of question. It literally can be a question of ignorance. So we can educate people on that, right? But when people are asking that question for the 37th time and they know the answer to the question, then maybe we wear a little thin.
Yep.
Treat it with as they say from Roadhouse way back in the day in the 80s, be nice until it's time not to be nice. All right, guys, I'm going to step away. I will probably make an attempt to step back in. You guys got the reins. Good luck. Thank you all for coming. I apologize to anybody who wanted to hear. Well, some of you don't want to hear me ramble so much. That's what in the chat's a lot too. Like, will that DA guy ever shut the hell up? Dude, it's my channel. I'm allowed to talk. But anyways, in the meantime, I'll let my guests, my panelists, my advocate panel take over. All right, you guys have a good show. I'll be back probably if I can here shortly.
Sure.
Joe did email and said that he will be here. He just isn't sure exactly what time, so he will be along at some point. I don't know about Jason, but Joe said he'll be here at some point. So
all right, I'll remove myself from stage, but I'll probably stay backstage so I can come in at a quick notice.
All right, dear.
Robin, how about why don't you put if anyone wants to come up? I don't know if you
get the link.
I don't know if you have the line. I know you usually have the links.
Yep. And but yeah, so we want everyone to have a good time. We're pretty lenient, but just don't be insulting, and we want people to ask questions, serious questions, who are curious about the case and have productive comments and so forth. But yeah, we don't want to we want everyone to have a good time and to learn from one another and not just all that good stuff. So all right, I'm going to put the link, and so that way if someone would like to come up and ask a question or comment or whatever. So I did not get to watch a whole lot of stuff today. We're just getting back to work and all that good stuff. So oh, hang on a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, 1-1. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, don't be afraid to come up and bring, any kind of theory or question or whatnot. Where we're open to listen to just about anything, and sometimes that's how you get to the truth is questioning stuff. Obviously, you review the documents and whatnot, and what's hard is we're hoping the documents and stuff that has been released is accurate info. But as you see, and some other creators have covered as well, so some of these reports from the officers or detectives really have very shallow notes and really didn't put enough info down, and sometimes some of these documents may pose more questions than answers. So
right,
but we're right here. We're right here with you. I think a good portion of us on the panel, I believe. I mean, Robin could speak for herself, but I know Lee and myself. I'm not in the camp that BK is necessarily completely innocent. He very very well may be involved to a certain extent in some part of what happened, whether it's some kind of cleanup, or he drove one of the killers there or whatnot. We haven't had the info released exactly from Cy-Ray, so we can't assume exactly what it is or not. We have to see it. We could assume it's something that would help. He was testifying for the defense, so I assume it's something that would help BK, but still doesn't necessarily mean that BK is completely innocent. However, yeah, again, you look at all the facts, you look at everything. It just really seems like, for whatever reason, they had, pinpoint target on BK. And earlier in the documents, I mean, they have another suspect that's listed, but it's redacted. We don't know who it is. So is it possibly Kopaka or someone else? We don't know. It's redacted. If it was Kopaka, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Well, Kopaka's not alive, so they wanted to pinpoint and have someone, targeted, that they did this whole crime, and that's it. Nice, wrapped in a bow, off to the races. No dangers left. Everything is cleaned up. Everything's good. And then, this case just exploded way more than I believe they ever thought.
Oh, I agree. They weren't expecting that at all.
Right. And it's just what happened. I mean, there are murders and stuff that happen every day. I mean, it's not like, so, but it did. And, then you just go back and you compare. Kopak was actually another. Yeah. He also, Judge also accidentally said his name in early on,
right,
in one of the cases, in one of the proceedings as well.
Right.
But there's just so much with this case. But again, I know there's many people who are going to say, oh, but okay, so we hear a bunch of people screaming. We don't know what it is. And you're absolutely right. We don't know what it is. And none of us have ever said definitively, we can say, oh, we know what's happening. We know that it's this. We know that it's that. However, when you look at what would be considered exculpatory evidence, and Lee did a fantastic job in that premiere video that he did. You listen to the audio, you listen to the background noise from 410 to 420, and now you listen to the audio from 230 to 330 that we have released. And I don't know how you could say that 230 to 330 video audio is not some kind of exculpatory evidence. Remember,
right.
We don't have to the defense doesn't have to prove who did the crime.
Nope.
They don't have to. They need to just prove that there's reasonable doubt. And you tell me who would sit on a jury hearing those two different time frames of video and would possibly believe that nothing happened during in that period.
Right.
I mean, it's,
and now it's a good question. I don't think they never showed Kopaka's body being removed at all either. So
I don't believe they showed Kopaka. No, I don't believe they showed that. They did not. They did not show the bodies being removed from 1122 as well. Although this was discussed the other night when we had Dago on the show, and he's a former EMS / firefighter.
Right.
He did say that he has been on several scenes where they have shut stuff, like they shut the road down and they do connect some kind of,
tarp or
something, and you don't see the bodies. Do I entertain and understand that, that point of view? How did we not get any crime scene photos released? Usually in most of these type of cases, some kind of photo or photos will get released and whatnot. How come that didn't happen here? I don't have the answer for you with that.
Yeah,
So
we don't know.
I hear you, but also keep in mind, that I know that Jules is fighting pretty hard with
Yeah,
MPD and whatnot. She's really trying to get that video, the video audio from I think like
yeah,
12 a.m. to the 2:30.
yeah.
Just
They're still
remember,
stalling her.
right? Just remember, we do have Linda Lane. We do have the Linda Lane video though, and
Right.
I right around 1:15 a.m. is when there seems to be some kind of fight or something. Something is going on in the background.
Yeah.
And that is when I believe that this whole thing kind of started. So it's with the amount of injuries that some of these victims suffered. I mean, it almost sounds like some of them were possibly tortured, and it could have been over a long period of time. It might not have been such a quick kill, I guess.
Yeah, and we know that it wasn't. It
Right.
couldn't be. It's physically impossible for that to have been such a quick kill. Come on, they're insulting our intelligence, and I'm damn tired of it. It's
Right.
ridiculous. Uh, Leslie and Billy asked, do you remember the guy that went into the police station saying he was being treated on his phone and showed the cop, and I never heard anything more about that guy? Suppose it was all connected. I'm not familiar with that. Are you familiar with that one?
When
About a guy
everybody's
that
saying he was being treated.
he went to he was threatened. Oh, okay. That was the guy. He went, what was it, down to North Carolina? I think it was North Carolina he went to, and went into the police station down there. I thought you meant, sorry, Leslie and Billy, I thought you meant went
Yeah.
to the MPD. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know that anything ever came of that. I don't know that we never did hear anything else about that, to my recollection. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
And
Weird.
and again, I keep bringing it up. I brought it up a few nights in a row. I still want. I wish. We're going to submit a few requests. I'm sure they're going to. I'm sure they're going to say no or try to fight. We need more info on Rosenthal and
Yep.
Tisdale's whereabouts.
We need their record.
I could tell you from here, from where I work, from our police radio, from the body camera, even the unmarked. I don't know specifically about that car, but most of our police cars that we have here have GPS built into it too. We should be able to get all the info regarding their, where they were that night.
Right.
And what's alarming to me immediately is this probably I didn't put it together yet, but Lee will be submitting shortly Tisdale's account in the document of how they drove around that night. And what you don't see is 2:30 to 3:30. We don't see the unmarked car drive. We know it's a tan car.
No.
It doesn't go by. Where is it? Where is their car? And you're gonna say, oh well,
Right.
they messed with the video. They took it away. They redacted it. Well, if they redact it, then if they're gonna say, oh well, it's an unmarked car, they don't want people knowing what car they use and whatnot. Well, then it should have a black box over it. They're not allowed to they can't just edit the video and remove stuff without.
Right, because it changes the evidence.
Yeah.
It changes and I don't understand why more people in our country are not furious about this. Okay, so maybe you think Brian did it. Okay, fine and dandy. But then why are you so comfortable if Brian did it and it's open and shut, then why do you gotta hide stuff? Why do you have to change stuff? Why do you have to redact this? Why do you have to redact that? I mean, you know, why do you have to do that if this is such a simple case?
And
Because it's not. And
yeah,
if you have them, you know, editing out whole vehicles,
right,
you
right.
know,
It's
then
crazy. Yeah.
that should be something that everyone should be up in arms about, regardless of the case or regardless of what they're taking out, putting in, whatever. Everyone should be pissed off about this and
Um,
want the truth, no matter what that truth is.
and,
That's part of the point of this.
and I see someone, I see a
Yep.
comment here. Someone mentioned something. Payne also took the alleged route in the same car that turned
Yeah.
under. Yeah, yes. This is why I believe, absolutely, I believe Payne, a bunch of them, a bunch of people there, they know,
Right.
they know that they were right there. Now,
Yeah.
again, I don't know. I'm not. You know, I've said their name. I'm not afraid to say their name. We know they were there.
Right.
Listen again to the audio on 2:30, 3:30. You hear blood quenching screams.
Yep.
You know, even before 3 o'clock, and then what is it? What, one of them I believe was like what, 2:54 or something around
Right.
there. One of the screams,
Right.
and then you
Yeah.
see the Banfield stop starts right at 2:56.
Right.
So
Um,
you're gonna tell
and
me
we do
that they
have a guest
didn't?
backstage, just to
Yeah,
let
yeah, I
you know.
saw it.
I don't want Priming Chaos to think we're
Yeah,
ignoring
we
you.
see
So
it.
we'll get to you in just a few moments here.
Yeah. That Banfield stop is huge to me.
Yeah,
It's huge to me.
absolutely.
Now with this new audio that came out, now I know like people are saying, you know, thinking like, oh, we know the Banfield stop is, you know, you see the people running in the background or whatever. Yeah, I get that. And those people in the back that you see, maybe they were, you know, maybe they were just onlookers. Maybe they don't have anything to do with the crime or with whatever was going on. But what I can tell you is that there's pretty much like I can't say 100%, 99.9% definitive proof that Rosenthal went to 1122. And he was there
Yeah,
probably for about a
I
half
wouldn't doubt it.
hour. He was there for a half hour or 40 minutes. Why was he there?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how do I know that? How do I know he went there? Well, Tisdale was driving around in the car.
Right.
He still was driving around. And
Right.
who saw him? Who described him? You know, you're gonna say like, well, how could we trust her? I understand that, but Molly described Tisdale.
Good old
Tisdale was
Santa's
driving
best
around.
friend.
Right. And what I would tell you is if we were able to somehow get the cell phone data or, you know, which I believe Ann Taylor was trying to get from Tisdale and Rosenthal, I've explained this before. What would be the reason for, just think about it logically, what would be the reason for Rosenthal to call? I'm not saying he did, but I'm just like food for thought. If they're driving around, they're partners, right? So sure, you know, you're with your partner. Usually you go, you know, wherever your partner goes, you go. You know, you don't usually leave your partner unattended. If you go to get a coffee,
Right.
like you go to get a coffee in the store, you should both go in and whatnot. But
Right.
what do you think? What do you think possibly we would see if we got their phone records? I guarantee you're going to see one of two things. You're either going to see a phone call from Rosenthal to Tisdale, and think about that. They're driving around together, right, in the same car. Why would Rosenthal be calling him?
Right.
Well,
Why would you have to call your
he'd be
partner?
calling him, right? He'd be calling because whatever he is finished with or whatever he's done, you know, he's done with whatever he was doing at 1122.
Oh, come
He
get me.
wants Tisdale to know that he's ready to be picked up. And if it's not, And if it's not
Oh,
a phone call,
where'd she go?
what happened?
I want to get Crime and Chaos. I don't know where she went. I want to get her up on the screen here with us. Let
Okay.
me stick the link back under.
If it wasn't a phone call and it was a text message,
Let me put the link back in here.
then we would be able to see the text message. So
Okay, go come back up, Crime and Chaos. Sorry about that. But no,
they said they'll try to pop up. Yeah, they'll try to pop back up in a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the thing is that yeah, so
I'm not even talking
you're
about.
not going to sit there and call your partner.
Yeah, I'm not even right. I'm not even talking about. Forget about. I know the whole thing. Like, oh, the rumor. Kaylee was seeing Rosie and all that. We don't know. We don't know that. We don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it is true. It could be. I don't know. This guy was in his mid-20s. Definitely,
right.
he definitely could have been there for her. I don't know. But what I can tell you, I guarantee you his behavior is not a normal behavior. And normal behavior, even if you were to take a meal or take a break or whatever they were doing, would not be to go off to 1122 for a half hour or 35 minutes and Tisdale driving around, making it look like that they're still in the car. So something is definitely wrong. And then right before that was the Banfield stop. And then right before that was all kinds of blood quenching screams. So I believe that he was, whatever happened, some kind of fight or something. They were there.
Yeah. And I, you were talking earlier about, you and Lee, your theory,
About what?
my theory is fluid. I guess that's the writer in me, because I write, I'm what they call a pantser, meaning I write by the seat of my pants. So I never know how a story is going to play out. I don't plot very much usually. So and it's kind of like, as this case has gone on from the very beginning, I had a theory, and then as things keep changing and evolving, so does my theory, because I always think to myself, okay, how would I write this? Like how would I write this? And right now, with what we've seen, the way that I would write it is that no one will ever change my mind, and unless there's concrete evidence. Either way, I guess. But Dylan is involved. I think Quinn Kelly is one of the focal points of this. And again, I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just telling you my personal theory. Okay, this is my personal theory. There's no accusations here. We're just talking through things, speculating. So I believe that this is a case of he was assigned a job, as whether it's some type of an initiation. I believe. Well, oh my God, there he is. Did you? You heard me, didn't you? Dang it! I almost did it.
Am I allowed here?
No.
Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just popping on.
Oh no! Oh, I don't care if you're here. I'll tell you. Know me. I tell you anyway. So I believe that Kopaka potentially could have been there to oversee some things, be muscle, if you will, and that there is definitely some type of drug involvement. I don't know that you could classify it as a potential professional hit of some sort. I do think things went horribly wrong. things did not go according to whatever the plan was going to be. I believe that a lot of this started outside. I don't know that anything exactly happened in the house other than a lot of cleanup, or and my views differ greatly from a lot of that on the panel, but that's my view right now. Though that is my theory at the moment. But as each little detail comes in, then my writer's mind goes to work and I revise that. So I'm not completely married to any one thought. And I don't remember who it was, whether it was it Joe maybe? Or maybe one of our guests that had said that, oh, how did they phrase that? Well, anyway, so my theories are a little bit more fluid, and I'm willing to be able to move that ball where things are going, I guess.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about the audio a bit, so a few things I did hear in the audio: stop, or please stop, something to that. I heard that, and in some of that audio too, from 2:30 to 3:30, it did sound like, I've heard it multiple times. It sounded like someone say Kaylee's gone or Kaylee's dead or something like that. It did sound like that. But again,
And
this is audio that people are claiming that they just moved the filter or whatnot or changed. So, it's hard to definitively say exactly what went on. But my big thing is really going after the whereabouts of Rosie and Tisdale. They're tracking their car, which we should be able to, from a FOIA request, we should be able to get the full GPS timestamp. I mean, if they have GPS in the car, it's not going to be, exactly every second, but it should report, every few seconds. So that would definitely give full, so it may be a little hard to exactly get Rosendahl and Tisdale's, their personal phone, their phone log without them actually being named some kind of suspect or to that extent. That might be a little hard to get. But where it comes to where their police car, where the unmarked was, and their coordinates, we absolutely should be able to get that. Why not? Yeah, I mean,
right.
I mean, if they ask, why do you want that? Well, I don't know. Maybe 4 people were killed, like right there. Maybe there was a stop of kids drinking in the field right there. We want to know. We want to know where the car was. Show us.
Right. We want to know everything that we can possibly know, because it could be one or two small things that completely turns this around and gives you an answer. I mean, 111, it happens in crimes all the time. Just one or two little things. So therefore, to my way of thinking, it's not a waste of time to gather as much evidence as you possibly can.
No, and I can't stress enough. I have to bring it up. Lee and JJ they've brought up a few times this book, Framed, by John Grissom. I mean, I've only finished the first chapter. I mean, oh my God, how many correlations, how many things. I mean, there are things. So the first chapter is basically about the Norfolk 4, they call it. And it was basically a bunch of Navy guys that wound up getting charged with rape and homicide of this female. And there's all kinds of corruption and different, there was different techniques and different things used in interviewing and lying and all kinds of stuff. But you hear like what was actually done by the police, and it's basically they were dead set. They were pinpointed on this one individual that he did the crime. And then even I know Lee. I don't know if Lee finished the book. I know he did pass. I know he did chapter 1 though. When they had the info and they had like the DNA evidence, you know, from the rape and some other info, and they knew kind of, you know, 100% that this guy that they had, you know, pinpointed that he did the crime, even when they had the evidence that it clearly wasn't him, then they still wouldn't let it go. And they still like concocted like a whole nother narrative and story. Oh, well, he must have had an accomplice and he must have not did this or he must have not did that. Like it's just amazing. Like they couldn't even come forward right away and admit like, oh yeah, we made a mistake. They still tried to cut, and that kind of thing. That's what I feel almost like kind of in this case, whether certain things are deliberate or, you know, you know, are these is MPD, are these cops just, whether they're not complicit in what went on, are they just, you know,
incompetent?
That exactly that. You know, that freaking incompetent, that people screaming and all kinds of stuff. And they're like, you know, across the street doing you know, stopping kids for drinking. And then 4 homicides happened and they, you know, it was right under their watch. It's insane, but I don't know. I don't think, I think if we push enough, if we write, I don't think Lee did it yet, but when we get, I guess it'll come up, you know, maybe within the next few days or another week or so. If we put together a FOIA request to get the time, we want the actual GPS or timestamp. Now, that's if the car has GPS. You know, I don't know.
I don't know what year
they can come back and say, oh, the car doesn't have GPS. So we're not gonna be able to get Tisdale and Rosenthal's personal phone records. I'm aware of that, even though that would definitively give us the answer. But we can try to go about it another way. Like I would almost 2025. They have a relatively smaller department too. I would bet money that their police car has GPS. Well, we want the coordinate. We want it. Guess. We want to know during their shift. We want the records that shows where their car was during their whole shift, and that's public record. That's not their personal info. It's part of the police department. You know, it's part of the record. We should be able to get that.
I'm not laughing at you. I was giggling at Silence and Shane going, why is Lee not talking?
Well, I mean, contrary to popular belief, I am able to allow other people to talk, and I don't like to interrupt people when they're talking. So I'm waiting for you guys to take a breath before I say something, because I am able to let other people talk, even when people say, oh my God, it's painful to watch DA. The guy never lets any of his guests talk and never lets anybody talk but himself. He's just a freaking show hawk and egotistical son of a bitch. So I was practicing.
No,
I was practicing.
People don't know this about you, maybe, but Lee is actually a very good listener. He is a very good listener.
Yes.
So yeah, you know, it's funny. I was listening to you guys talk about this. There's a couple things that are interesting. Like, I feel like I have to do it one more time. But the Whites, you know how we talked about there was a squad car parked in the Whites parking lot that night, right? And and a special. So I can, from my memory, I wish Joe was here to remember, but from the Whites apartments, you can literally see between the Whites apartments to the 1122 King Road residence. Like you can see between the buildings and see that back road back there. So one has to ask, were they stationed at exactly was their car parked literally where they could see the 1122 King Road residence? That would be interesting in the first place, to see if that's what they were, where they were parked at. Were they watching the house from the Whites parking lot? Because it seems to me, from my memory, that's certainly doable. And again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm like you say, we would like to know I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that they're going to tell us what their special duty was or what they were doing parked in that parking lot, but them being camped out in that parking lot at that time seems to be something that a lot of people would want to know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another
I mean,
thing,
he gave the account. I mean, I got to get the actual document number. I mean, Tisdale, he pretty much said when, they drove around, whatever it was, like they did like from whatever period, they did like 5 loops or 6 loops or whatever around that area right there. So it's like a bunch of stuff. Well, this guy is saying he's an officer, right? Who works for you, accounting what he did that night for his tour. He's saying he drove around. How come we don't? Why isn't the car making appearance on the video? And give us the full GPS breakdown of the car.
and here's the thing, like, I don't want to beat this to death, but that book Framed you were talking about, yes, I'm several chapters deeper. There's 2 more stories that I've watched that'll just freaking curl your hair and make you lose sleep. But oftentimes, once they decide who they want, they do start tailoring the evidence to fit who they want, and they ignore information that comes in that's contrary to what they want. They get expert testimony to come in and they tell their expert, this is who we think did it. Can you make the evidence fit? And they're like, yeah. And they use terms like consistent with. Well, the bite marks were consistent with the teeth of the individual that you're looking for, or the car is consistent with, or the gun is, and those are red flags for people who don't. What they're not saying is it is the right guy, or it is the car, or it is the weapon. It's just consistent with, and that misleads juries. It misleads everyone into thinking, oh, well, a car consistent with the Brian Koberger's car was seen in the neighborhood. That doesn't mean it was Koberger's car, or it's the same kind of bullshit of pinging off the cell tower that services the house at 1122 King Road residence. It's not meaning the person was sitting outside 1122 King Road residence, and they know it. But if they keep telling you people, oh, his phone pinged 20 times off the cell tower that services the house, they're really saying nothing. But an uneducated public hears what they want you to hear, which is that, he was stalking the victims. So they do that.
What was so interesting, I only did the first chapter. What popped into my mind immediately, and I'm sure it popped into your mind too, correlating it to Idaho 4, that it was brought up that, and kind of what you were just saying, and you've mentioned it before, there's so many cases where there's some kind of witness or some kind of deal is made from, the prosecution to they get someone to be some kind of star witness or something like that. And early on in this case, from the Norfolk 4, in the first chapter, there is a neighbor who, for whatever reason, I don't know, thought, I don't know, something was weird about one of the guys that wound up getting framed with the homicide and the rape and all that. But this neighbor also mentioned another individual as well, and like at the same time. And the police just didn't. So they had the name. They had. So the actual perpetrator who did the crime, they had his name in the very beginning, and it's just just amazing. And then later on, and then they do the interview and all this stuff, and the police, they're like, oh well, we have a witness that says that you were in there, you went to the apartment, the other night or whatever, and it just popped into my head like right away. The relationship between Bill Thompson and Molly, because we know Molly was going to be she was going to be pinged to say that she saw BK. We know that.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to give anything away about the book. And by the way, I told you I may have to come and go, so I may have to slip out again in a minute. But I don't want to give anything away about the book, but so I'll be careful in how I say this. But one of the chapters coming up, if you keep reading it, 1-1 will blow your hair off when they're talking about a certain expert, a dental expert, who was brought in to convict massive amounts of people, that he literally was just faking it, and they, law enforcement and the prosecution would tell him who they want to frame to it, and then he would say, absolutely, there's no question, that is the teeth mark on the body was this person, and he completely lied about it over and over, and they put people away over and over again. And the most shocking one is this, and I won't give the details too much. So a person was raped, and the damage that was done to the female could have been caused by 2 different appendages. Okay, we'll say that. And the defense asked their expert, who they used over and over again to put things in people's mind, if maybe an object was used instead of appendages of a body. An object was used, and it was so shocking. It made the jury get in their mind that that this person was abused by a physical object, and they used that in their closing. And there was never any evidence ever that any object was used, but they put it in the jury's mind. And the guy says, "Oh yeah, the injuries could be consistent with someone using that object on that person." And it was a shock factor thing, and it fixed. It worked. The jury was like, "Oh my God, he did this to the person," and there was no evidence whatsoever that any object was ever used, but it tainted the jury, and they had an expert say, yeah, that could be consistent. It could have been an object, and it was an object that shocked people, and it made them think that's what they got in their head, and they quickly got a conviction and went with it, and there was no evidence whatsoever any object was used at all. It's just, and these are the games that they play in this country. These are the games we often play to get convictions and win over juries, to make them get shock factors and think they've got it figured out, and they don't. It's we've got a broken and systemic problem in our country, I think, in the way that we handle some of the way we handle cases. It's shocking. And again, it goes to the root of why do people plead guilty for things they didn't do? Well, read a book. That's what I say. Read a book. So you said Joe is coming on from State of the Deep. He's going to be here shortly.
He sent an email earlier, but maybe he just wasn't able to make it at all. I don't know. Or he'll maybe still pop in. I don't know.
Yeah. Real quick before I go, I just wanted to see if anybody had a specific question they want me to answer while I'm on camera. I know that, you guys know everything I talk about and have different opinions even than I do on some things. But while I'm here, if anybody has anything quickly that they want me to riff on before I leave, or ask a question for an update on something, let me know so I can slip out and take care of some more stuff that I've got going on. You guys got a good audience going tonight. You guys are rocking it.
Yeah, and we have some people watching on other platforms. I won't say what they are, but to those other people, or we did earlier, that's wonderful that you're watching us from other locations. So that's wonderful and amazing.
We had someone that said they were going to come backstage. They were going to hop back.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So hopefully they'll come back up. I'll stick the link up again, just in case. It was Crime and Chaos, I believe.
But again, like more, more people have joined. Don't be afraid to if you want to come up and talk about your theory, or you have a question. We're not, as long as it's done in a respectful way, where no one's gonna bite your head off. All right. We don't know everything either. We know a lot about these cases. We do a lot of research and whatnot in these cases. We do know a lot about it, but we're definitely welcome to listen to a theory or a question or whatever you have. So
so real quick, I'm going to answer a question that got asked of me before I go. And no, I don't believe they dropped any charges on Luigi Manjone. I don't know where that came out, but I want to answer the question. Somebody asked me, I think they were asking me specifically, have I found any connections between Bethany Funk and Brentley Kopacka? And the answer is no. I've never seen anything even indicating that doesn't mean that's not the case. I've had people say shocking things about Brentley Kopacka. Kopacka has been on my radar because, and I won't go through all the receipts, but for many reasons, I believe there's a strong possibility that Kopacka and Brian Koberger may have known each other. Somebody in the show the other night said, by the way, did you know that I think it was Jack Showalter and Kopacka knew each other? And I said, holy shit, if you've got that, I need to see that, because that would be hugely important. If Jack Ducour and Brent Kopacka knew each other, I would have a major. And so I've got all kinds of records requests on Brentley Kopacka. We're waiting for we're waiting for all the paperwork on the officer-involved shooting of Brantley Kopacka from both Pullman Police Department, from Whitman County Police Department, from WSU Campus Security. So we've got multiple agencies that responded to the Brantley Kopacka situation and the shooting death. I'm asking for those files. I'm also asking Moscow Police Department specifically if Brent, and I know the answer is yes. I'm asking a question I already know the answer to. Did Brantley Kopacka's name ever come up during the investigation of the Idaho 4 murders? I know the answer is yes. Let's see if they acknowledge yes. And if so, how was he ruled out? So I know they were given Brantley Kopacka's name. I don't have a question, but I'm asking, hey, did Brantley Kopacka's name ever come up in the investigation? And if so, because I already know that he did, how did you guys determine that he had no involvement in it? What was your process for eliminating Brantley Kopacka as a suspect in the case? So I'm just curious to see those things. They will probably not answer, but we're going to keep pushing on that. But yeah, the short answer again is I have not seen a direct connection or any connection with Bethany and Brantley Kopacka. So great question, and thank you. And let me be careful about Kopacka in the first place. I feel bad if everybody's barking up the wrong tree with Kopacka. There's reasons why people think Kopacka was involved. My reasons for why Kopacka could be involved, I think, are different than a lot of people's. But a lot of people just think it's simply a matter of it's a soldier with PTSD who lived nearby, so he might have done it. But that's not good enough for me. I have more reasons to believe Kopacka was involved than just he was a soldier with PTSD. So let's be clear about that. But I still, it's years, and I can't prove I can't put the. I even had somebody come forward and say we were neighbors of Brent Kopacka in Pennsylvania, and I couldn't get them to give me the receipts. I'm like, well, great. If you were neighbors, prove to me. Like, give me something I can sink my teeth on. What years were you there, next door neighbors to Brantley Kopacka? And I can't get anybody to do anything but give me really juicy, makes me salivate and piss myself a little bit when they say something that could break the case open, and then they don't follow through. All right, guys, I'm going to step away. Thank you so much. Looks like you got a guest coming up.
We do.
Yes, we do.
On stage. So good luck with that. I may be able to step back in a little bit and step on the parade again, but have a great night, guys. You guys are doing great.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring Crime and Chaos up to the stage here for us.
Welcome.
Well, welcome. Oh, and JJ stated
We got
indeed.
JJ too.
Yep, I knew him up here.
Hey JJ, what's up, buddy?
Hey JJ.
Hello. Hope you guys.
Nice to have you with us, Crime and Chaos. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks. I'm good. I'm actually supposed to be working, so I apologize. I had to jump off earlier.
We won't tell.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I won't. I'm just gonna talk for a bit, and then I'll have to hop back down. You were talking both of you about how you thought, you feel like Rosie was definitely in the house, right?
Well, I don't know. I don't know necessarily that he was in the house, but he was. I can't say that I know he was in the house, but do I think he was, maybe in the backyard or I would assume. I assume that he went in, but whether he had some relationship or whatever with Kaylee or not, even besides from that, the evidence that I've seen, from Molly, Molly's account of who she saw in the tan car, and just certain things, and then the Banfield stop right there. I do believe that he was over there. What he was doing there, I have no idea.
We don't know. Yeah.
Right.
So there was one thing last week which I came up on panel. I don't remember whether it was Doggo. I think it was Dago's channel. But then this there's always something every week that comes up that just literally shocks me. And then this last night I was on Outcast, and he was playing the video of the morning of. Okay. So I was really surprised to see in the chat how many people really didn't know the fact that the EMTs and the ambulance and the fire truck, they were fended off before they even got on Queen Road. So they definitely never made it to King Road and into the driveway. So so you have the one SUV PD that pulls up into the front of the driveway. And
Right.
then you have boom, 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 3 Moscow PD that pull up in a row on Queen Road.
Right.
Or I guess that would be King Road. So there, it's such a tight squeeze that, of course, they all got there first. So then when the ambulance, however many it was, you could never see them on any
No.
of the body cams. You never could see how many fire trucks arrived, how many ambulances arrived. So if you look at it with common sense, the police arrived right away. So there's question, obviously I feel like they already knew, and it
Oh
was
yeah,
planned. So,
definitely.
but yet they're acting like they're getting there for an unconscious person, in quotes. So with that being said, with their story of, okay, we're getting here for an unconscious person and there's 4 of us here right away, why would they, going with their theory, why in the world, with half a brain, would they block King Road and Queen Road with their SUVs so that the ambulances and the mainly the ambulance and the fire truck, yeah, I can see that, but the ambulances, why would you block it so they can't get to the unconscious person?
Right. That has never made sense.
Yeah.
Never.
And so that just, they literally all had to walk up on foot, and they were obviously fended off right away. They never even reached the driveway. So that's just another thing that adds up.
Yeah. I mean that. I mean, I could tell you that could also. I'm in agreement with you on that. I think you're in the right. You're in the right realm. So I'm in your favor with that. But a devil's advocate answer to that as well. I can tell you from my experience,
Mhm,
I work in New York City with NYPD, and I could tell you
mhm,
that I've been on many jobs before where um, if they're not really for an unconscious job, but if there's like some kind of like robbery, or if it's a job of like a shooting or something like that,
mhm.
sometimes like we'll have like 10 police cars that show up, and this becomes a problem many times because the officers come, they want to get there, to help, and then they wind up blocking like part of the street, and now an
Mhm.
ambulance or fire truck or whatever, they can't get to the areas, and we can't, someone that needs help. So it could be, again, just something due to lack of experience,
Right.
lack of being, having this kind of experience. They're not thinking ahead. They don't know really what to do. They're just trying to get there. However, with that said, it is a possibility that could be it. But I, with the whole 911 call taking whatever 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, I mean, I guess if we want to say that this incident happened at 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning starting, then you're talking about like a 10-hour gap there. Due to the proximity of the Banfield stop and these guys driving around, JJ and Lee going boots on the ground, and Lee and Rhonda going boots on the ground and showing how close knit that area was. There's no way, that 2:30, 3 in the morning, these screams that were there, whether it was just some kind of fight or something else, there's no way that no one else heard what was going on. Some of these
Mhm.
officers had to hear. So I definitely am somehow. I'm definitely in the realm of, you know, what would be a possible reason that Dylan or whoever it was there would wait 8-9 hours to call 911. Well, if the police were already there and said that they're already handling it, they're already there, there wouldn't be a reason to call 911. But at a certain point, you know, they, doctor some kind of story or whatnot. And again, just because maybe one or two officers or a few more, whether if it's Rosenthal and Tisdale or whoever it is that's involved, doesn't mean that the whole department is involved in it either. Because
Right.
I did watch very closely, and some of the officers who first arrive on scene there, and they go into the rooms, and I listened to their, to the audio, and I listened. You can hear their breathing. They did give what I would call, in my experience, a natural reaction to seeing like body stabbed or homicides and whatnot. Now, you could say, oh, well, maybe they were just actors and whatnot. It's definitely a possibility, but I do think that their reaction was authentic. But that doesn't mean that there's not some other,
couple bad eggs in
some
there.
other nonsense going on in the background. Because there's no way that all this stuff happened. Even forget about. So this thing, and I believe, hopefully again we get this audio video that Jules is trying to get. If you hear the Linda Lane video, we have the Linda Lane audio video, right? From 115, I believe. It sounds like there's some kind of fight or something going on starting at 115. Now, does that have anything to do with 1122 or not? We don't know, but there's still stuff going on. There's something going on out like in the street there.
Yeah.
Where even if, so let's say it's a fight. Let's say it's just some fraternity fight or something that had nothing to do with 1122. Well, where's the report on that? Where's the info on that? Because there's all kinds of yelling and screaming and stuff going on even before 2:30. So it's just it's interesting. But I just wanted to say it is there are times that ambulances, because I've seen it live on jobs, that some people, they get headstrong, they get the adrenaline going, they want to race to the scene, and maybe they're just not thinking, or they don't have the full experience. But definitely with MPD, from what I've seen, they definitely have a huge lack of experience in much of what they did. And the other thing too, just to throw on, and I don't know, we've talked about it as well. They did a horrible clearing of that house. I could tell you that right off the bat.
Yeah. Here's a question from Satire I thought would be interesting for each of us to answer. And let's let Joe answer this first. He hasn't had a chance really to talk yet. So what do you think was the first sign of a cover-up in your mind, Joe? What do you think?
First of all, hi Den, hi Robin,
hi JJ,
1-1, and our guest. I can't see her. Crime and Chaos. How you doing? I think the first sign was the surviving roommates, Jack Decor, Jack Showalter, and so I didn't know too much about Hunter Johnson at the time because we hadn't had the body cam footage yet. But those guys not being serious suspects was the first sign. Now, that the 8-hour delay was always strange, but that implied something was shady with the surviving roommate. So I didn't think of that as like a cover up until they didn't pursue that any further. But once I saw that they were not all seriously at least considered suspects, I thought something's off with this. This doesn't add up to me. It seems too, I mean, it's basic forensic investigating 101. The people closest to the victims are the ones, especially in a violent crime like a stabbing crime, should be the first ones that you look at. And when I saw that they were just kind of dismissed quickly, I thought that was the first red flag for me. And then later, of course, as I found out a little bit more, and then I was like, there's an 8-hour delay calling. And we saw the body cam footage and things were not adding up. Like the most obvious thing for me when the body cam footage came out was our roommates passed out. Our roommates passed out. Well, there's 4 people that were supposedly killed and a passed out roommate. If 4 people are stabbed to death the way that they implied it was early on, they would have seen blood. There was blood dripping down the foundation of the house. They would have seen blood. And that right out of the gate, why is she not asking about the other 2 roommates? There was a guy in the house at 4 a.m. Okay, well, you were frozen shock phase. Why would you be in a frozen shock phase if you thought everything was fine? That was another major one for me.
Yeah. And then you see, you know, we have the body camera footage now. We don't know exactly what it is, but it was either some kind of pool of blood or something right outside of Dylan's door.
Yeah,
right outside her bedroom. There was they redacted it. We don't know what it is, but yeah, they were clearly concocting some kind of story.
And just before sorry, Robin. Just before
go ahead.
we move on, I wanted to I say this occasionally. The reason why I always say, because people will ask me sometimes, why do you think it was an op, quote unquote op? I said, because, and Lee and I have talked about this. If it was one inconsistency, one weird thing, then you could kind of go, well, you know, maybe this, and we didn't have all the information and they let this slide and whatever. If it was 2 inconsistencies, it raises eyebrows a little bit more, but even 2 inconsistencies, you could say, well, whatever, shit happens. But when there's a string of them and the media is all in lockstep, not even questioning the inconsistencies, that screams operation to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say. I'm gonna jump down here in just a sec if I could, just real quick. For me, and I don't know if I'm jaded or what, but honestly, at the beginning, I heard about it the first day. I watched pretty much YouTube and crime, but I saw what occurred, and then it took them 3 days to do a briefing. So I was one of the people that was talking out loud to my TV saying, it's about time, that you did a briefing.
Yeah.
What took so long? And then when Chief Fry did the briefing, nothing really made sense. You could kind of tell that he was really skirting questions. We still didn't get any information. And then the fact that he immediately ruled out the roommates, he ruled out Hoodie Guy, and he ruled out these they just ruled out people right away.
He said they did though, but just to jump in, he did. He definitely came out. He said they were all ruled out, but
right away.
From the documents though, we can see from their investigation, Dylan and Showalter were not cleared. They said
exactly.
they said they were. They said they were, but they weren't.
But they didn't. Right. It just hit, and then they had another briefing and another, and to me they were contradicting. There were things that were said that were contradicting. So early on, I felt like, there was possibly some shady things, going on. But then when they went to the house and they started removing the victims' belongings and the roommates' belongings, I was stunned. And at that point, I was like, they're really messing things up. Why on earth would they be doing that? They shouldn't be messing with the acoustics of the house or anything in that crime scene. We don't even know who did it yet. So really early on, I just felt like something was going on that was pretty shady. That or they just really didn't know what to do, what they were doing, and someone needed to step in, and it just continued on from there.
Yeah.
But hey, I really appreciate you guys letting me get up here. I really probably should get back to work. This is so much more fun though.
Yeah.
But you guys have a
Come back
wonderful
again.
evening.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care.
You guys have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night.
You know, one of the reasons why the two roommates may have been, and again, I've touched on this before, may have been ruled out quickly is if there was sexual assault involved, right? They wouldn't, two female roommates would not be considered as serious suspects of sexual assault. Now, we know that they've lied about things.
Yeah.
So that puts into question, that means we've talked about this before. That means we could have been lied to about everything. Now, I have said, and I've hinted at it, if there was a sexual assault situation involved, the school would absolutely want to cover that up. Because if anything, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but if a sexual, like a multiple sexual assaults would be a certain way that the female student body would not come back to school,
right?
If the person had not been caught yet. And we saw that video. It's the day of, and the head guy, Lanier, is there, and he's saying, oh, we're working on a theory. Well, what he really was saying is we're working on a cover story.
Yeah.
Because if there was sexual assault involved, and I've from very early on, think about it. Brutal. If you just wanted to kill them, right? Get in and out. You would probably want to do it in a way that would leave the least amount of evidence, right?
Right.
So, but something that brutal and violent, the killer or killers was clearly not worried about a messy crime scene. So and I'm just hypothesizing, if there was any component of sexual assault or sexual component to the crimes, they would want to cover that up. And that would explain ruling out the two female roommates pretty quickly.
Sure.
Not saying that they didn't know what happened. I'm saying as the actual perpetrators.
Right.
That would explain that.
You mean
thing
go ahead, Ron.
You know, Ethan was found in a state of undress as well. Why? I mean, it's not just the fact that two of the female victims were found scantily clad. Ethan didn't have very much on either. Why? Why were all of these people, and then there's underwear out in the street?
Yeah.
There's panties out in the street. I mean, I don't, but you're absolutely right, Joe. They would want to, universities, colleges, they do it all the time. They hide sexual assaults. I mean, they don't want the victims going to the cops. And if they do, then, the cops are stonewalled and everything else. And so, no, they have certainly not satisfied concerns regarding that aspect to this crime whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's what we talked about with Dago. Why haven't we seen the actual autopsy reports and the diagrams and things? Because if it was, look, the police there, you can be sure, know that they are under the thumb of the university, because that's what brings the money into that area. That's what gives funding to the MPD. That's what brings a lot of money to the businesses as well. So right from jump, the police would know we do not want it to get out. That again, hypothesizing, just speculation, that there were sexual assaults involved or a sexual component in any way.
You mean panties in the street?
Yeah, I mean, even that part, even that alone.
Right. But it's not, I know, because I know some people are like, oh, but it's a college town. Yes. But then you watch the body camera of the interview. I believe it's from the Whites, and I believe it was Jeremy, whatever his last name is. He says, oh, you know what struck me as odd? Yeah, there were panties in the street. Here's someone who lives there who's telling you it's not normal to see panties in the street. And yeah, we find panties in the street right in front of where 4 homicides happened. 3 being females. I find that highly, highly suspicious.
Right. And so that aspect of it, again, I typically only consider a theory or an idea if it has a logical explanation, a potentially logical explanation. Like that would explain why they would not want that part of it to get out to the public, and why it would create a scenario in which, because remember, when the police showed up on scene and saw the bodies, right? Let's say this would be driving Estes crime maze bananas, because according to him, there were no bodies. So
yeah,
right.
Sorry, Estes, but they wouldn't know that there was a sexual assault right away. Presumably, I mean, there might be once they looked into it a little further, but they wouldn't if they were violently murdered, they wouldn't necessarily know right away sexual assault. So that aspect of it, that's something that they may have wanted to quickly squash any discussion of.
So I see a few things, people asking about the panties or whatever. So twizzle dick or whatever. He says, well, how do we know how do we know that the panties came from 1122? We don't. That's the whole point. As police showing up to the scene, obviously you're gonna, you put the yellow tape around, but you're gonna do a canvas around the immediate area as well, and finding some kind of blood spots, finding. Did I miss something?
you called Twizzle Dick, and I see somebody typed it that way, but I can't let it go. I'm sorry. It was a typo somebody put in there, and Robin and I are trying to hold our shit together, and we can't because Twizzle Dick is coming up in the chat. Sorry, Twiz. That was somebody did a typo and one read it. So,
but yeah, absolutely, they would. We don't know. You don't know that the panties are from there or not.
No,
so even before doing a canvas, just you don't need to be you don't need to go to some kind of law enforcement school or some kind of forensic school to figure out. That's like a common sense thing. You show up to the house, in the middle of the street here, there's like panties and other stuff. You would collect it anyway and test it. Why not? And if it has nothing to do with it, it has nothing to do with it. But why wasn't it collected? Where is the follow up? And then you have Jeremy, who lives in the Whites, saying that he saw panties and it's not normal. Well, again, where is the follow-up? But this would go along with what JJ said. They're going to do everything possible to, cover up. Was there some, obviously a homicide is a homicide, but they don't want it. If there was some kind of sexual assault, they're going to do everything possible to try to hide that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Hang on. I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, I mean, DA, what do you think about that?
Which part? I was listening to a lot of theories on there.
Well, that would somewhat explain, number one, why the two surviving roommates were not considered serious suspects. There was sexual assault involved.
Yeah.
That would not 100%, but 99% rule out the female roommates if there was violent sexual assault involved in this case. So that would explain certain things. And we know that they've lied about a lot of things or covered up a lot of things. So who's to say they didn't try to cover that up for obvious reasons? It would
Sure.
crush the school, the students coming back for sure. Female students would not be coming back to that school if they were,
I guess part of my problem becomes is I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they honestly, for some reason, felt Brian Koberger was really the guy. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, because anything else, if you say now it's a sexual assault and they knew it took place over a period of time, and because again, sexual assault and people fighting back and all those things did not fucking happen in 8 minutes. It doesn't happen in 8 minutes. You can't rape someone and kill 4 people and have them fight back and do it in 8 minutes. So where I'm going with that is that part of me thinks to myself, if it was a sexual assault and they're covering it up, there's so much that they're lying about that I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they really honestly felt, for some reason, whatever the case may be, that it was Koberger and he just got away with it. And then they started just kind of narrow-mindedly, often like it happens in this country. Once you decide who the guy is or the girl is, you just make everything fit. You're like, well, we know who it is. So now we're going to look for the things that confirmation bias. Because again, for me to say it was a prolonged thing that took place over 40 minutes or to an hour, and there was rape and there was whatever, and they would go to elaborate lengths to frame somebody who didn't do it. I want to say that it couldn't be that nefarious. I want to say that. Now, I'm not saying it isn't, but the level of corruption that has to be involved, again, I hope it's just more simple than that.
Since I read that, I'm reading that book,
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, we were talking about it before you came in.
Yeah, and I'm like almost done with the second chapter because I haven't had a ton of time to read, and I'm reading the actual book. I have a theory, and I think that, and it's just a theory, I think Molly was the one who gave Koberger's name to the police because they knew that a DoorDash driver was there, right? That came out pretty early. I think Molly had problems with the police. They talked.
Yeah.
They would have spoken to her from Jump Street. And I think that she knew of Koberger. Maybe she delivered to his apartment. Maybe they crossed paths, whatever. But I feel very strongly that's how they got Koberger's name. And as per we're reading in that book, they lock on to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's it. And they run with it. And if she could have been a CI also, she could have known things about that house. And then they went to her and she knew of Koberger and she gave that name to them and they ran with it. So unless he's a Fed.
I want to back you up on that and then counter it at the same time. So backing you up on it, I think that's right. I think in light of the book Framed, that's the kind of thing you see, right? One person says, you know what, I think it's this guy. And then they just go, oh, okay, there's our lead suspect. We've got it. So-and-so says it's this guy, and they become narrow focused. So for sure, I think that could have happened. However, and so that could be it, Joe. I mean, that could be exactly how they got Koberger's name. As she said, hey, I know this guy. I'm pretty sure he was there that night. I saw him or whatever. That could have been it. But I have a feeling Molly was a last ditch effort to place Brian Koberger at the house because they couldn't place him there. And they put pressure on Molly last minute. And that was the telltale of her remarks in the police station. And now I have to go testify in that case of the murders that I saw him there. I think it was her saying, I just cut a deal and now I have to go tell people I saw Brian Koberger there. She was leaned on at the last minute, in my opinion, because of what Bill Thompson said. We can't place Koberger at the scene. So they found somebody who was willing to say, hey, I'll say I saw him at the scene, and they were bringing her in at the last minute. So my gut tells me it didn't happen. She fingered him early, and they stayed up because of that. But they brought her in late to try to place him at the house because they couldn't place him at the house.
But here's a scenario with Molly. Tell me what you guys think. I still believe that Koberger knew of that house because I think he was from some connection to the house, whether it was Molly, whether it was some of the other people we've talked about who got arrested for dealing, that he could have been meeting somebody at that house that night. He could have been meeting Molly there for all we know. You know, you're out driving around, you hit up your person that you connect with. All right, well, I'm making a delivery, meet me over at this location. And that would explain the pulling around behind the house. And she wants to give the police something. So she doesn't care if somebody goes down because she's looking out to cover her own ass, right? Because if they had shit on her, right, and she wants to give them something, it could be total bullshit.
Right.
And but his car may have been in the area. And so she gives his name to them. And maybe they suspect other people, but there might have been other bigger pictures involved it would have been a lot easier for them to pick somebody that they could put in that area that night, hence the narrative shifting about the time frame. Because, you know, as far as they're concerned, if they got somebody and, you know, he could fit the bill, he was there late at night, that's pretty suspicious either way, regardless of the reason why he was really there. And then, you know, that's a scenario that I thought about, that he was.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if Molly did deliver DoorDash there to that house that night for whatever reason, it's very easy that if she got herself in trouble, they could have said, look, if you want to get out of trouble, if you can give us something juicy, then whatever. And, you know, kind of like that hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You were at the house. Did you see somebody there maybe? Because if you could tell us that you saw somebody there, like there's a lot of scenarios that can play into how Molly would just decide to give them a name of somebody. Because like you said, anybody. And if it's to save her own skin, there's a lot of people who would do that. I'm gonna face drug charges. I'm gonna lose my license. All they want is a name. If I can give them a name, then they'll leave me alone. You know, and so you just pull out a name out of your ass, like, oh, there's this guy. I think he was there.
And one last
thing, and then she got arrested. Yeah. She got arrested.
The last thing I'll say about this, and then I'll shut up, is pretty early on in the case, when I was digging into different message boards and things online, when the DoorDash driver information was out and everybody knew about it, and I was reading into it, that people use DoorDash drivers to deliver shit besides food. Correct. It's fairly common, right? And if you're in a college town, and you're involved with that scene, you know, it's not a big stretch to imagine somebody making deliveries and making extra money doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So if a DoorDash driver was involved with making deliveries of other things besides food, you know, they could be meeting people. Hey, meet me at this house. I have a food delivery. Meet me at this house at this time. You know, and that's just, you know, this is the kind of shit we're not going to hear about. The police don't want that getting out. The school does not want that getting out. Oh, by the way, go to U of I. You can get drugs delivered with DoorDash, with your DoorDash food.
Yeah. Right. And that could have been, I mean, not working all through it, but that could have been the quote unquote tip that the FBI had. Like their tip could have been, they could have gotten a hold of Molly and said, hey, we need some kind of something. And she said, well, I'll give you this guy's name. And that could be their tip. And they knew it wasn't enough to make an arrest on. So they go to Moscow Police Department and they say, look, we're not going to tell you how we got this name, but here's a tip. This is a guy you should be looking into. And away they go. But again, Framed is a perfect book that tells you how once they get a name, they go balls deep to make sure that they find a way to make that guy fit. And so once they had a name, because if they had nothing, like here's the thing, they had nothing supposedly for the longest time. So they were desperate to have somebody's name. So once somebody gives them a name, you could see why they would be influenced to make sure that a name is better than no name, right? If they truly had no name and they were clueless and they didn't know what happened, now weeks go by and they look like idiots. Like, how can you have the biggest homicide that's ever hit this town and you don't have a clue who did it? So they're starting to look like idiots as time goes by. And now all of a sudden, all they need is anybody to give us a fucking name. Just give us a name. Somebody we can say we've got a name. Okay, there's this creepy guy, Brian Koberger, that doesn't like girls at WSU. Maybe it was him. Okay, good enough. We'll go with that. We got a name now. And away they go,
Right. And he was up late. Yep. We that's all they talked about. Remember early on when Koberger came into the picture, oh, he's up late walking around his apartment. Well, if you're a night owl and by nature a night owl, like sometimes you go get food or you order food like late at night. So he could have encountered this DoorDash driver. I mean, the schools I couldn't believe how close together the schools were. I never realized that they were that close together. They're like very close together. I mean, there's a lot of crossover there.
I remember this pinned comment this person talked about. Do you remember this? That somebody had slipped a piece of paper to one of the officers involved in the thing that basically was supposedly had a person's name on it, who they thought it could be. I remember reading that in the reports, but it's been a long time.
I mean, it could be. I've said this all along. I never said I thought Koberger had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it based on all the inconsistencies is why I don't believe any of the official story. But I mean, he was a guy who was a night owl, right? Night owls, especially if you're doing any kind of drugs, even if it's just Adderall, college students, that's like the most common drug with college kids. They use Adderall, and whether it be for school, it's easy to get prescriptions for it. And if you're a student, it's like they give that shit out like it's nothing. Yeah. And he could have been using, for recreational reasons, or he could have been just using it to get the incredible workload that a PhD student has to hold down to help him get that done. If he's a night owl, maybe he's wired and he does in fact drive around. Maybe he was buying shit from there. Who knows? But I have a feeling that the DoorDash driver was the one who gave them his name to begin with.
We all go quiet all of a sudden.
Crickets.
we all go quiet.
It's a real popular theory. TA loves when I come up with new theories, man. You could just see it burning him up.
Yeah, because you know what? 37 theories is not enough. Let's get like 39 theories in there. Let's do that.
My theories all connect though. I connect all my theories together.
Ah, man. Yeah, my brain is hurting on this case, but we got lots of places to go with the documents. More stuff hopefully will come out as we get more documents released. I'm still excited to see what the response will be on whether or not there was enough teeth to open an investigation into the handling. I think clearly the case was mishandled, in my opinion. I think if ever there was a case that pressed for a wrongful conviction, this was one of them. This is definitely high on the list of that wasn't a fair trial. Everybody knew it wasn't a fair trial. and there's lots of things. I think that the evidence for multiple people being involved is enormous, and so that means that accepting the idea that one guy did it alone means other people are walking free today that were involved in that crime. And so, yeah, it's the case that never sleeps. Like, this may be the last thing I do in life is trying to figure out how to fix this. I mean, not that it's my responsibility to fix it, but I'm saying, like, it may be something that I take to my grave, like I don't know, just the last thing I want to do, right, is see some kind of justice in this case and see somebody held accountable that wasn't held accountable. But
right,
yeah,
yep. And regarding the documents, I put the link to the GoFundMe in there so that we are going to, as this fight continues, we will need your support. We're so appreciative of all the support we've already gotten. But I did put the link out there again for those who you want to join in and even things just like liking the video, sharing the video. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can help support the channel and fight, get behind what Lee and the rest of us here are trying to do, and others in the community as well. So
yes, 100%. And I appreciate everybody that's donated to the fund. The hard part hasn't happened, which is them asking for money, like they're going to ask for money. And so right now we're covering postage, but we're way ahead for postage. But the first time they drop one of those Jules things on us and say, yeah, we can give you that video, but it's going to be $900. Well, the good news is we've got that in the kitty right now, so we can do that. But again, we'll do some pushback because I think that was too much to ask, and I think we can push back on the price. But we're loaded. We just need now to get them to prepare some documents. The good news is, for those who don't know, and I haven't said it for a while, we did get some free Freedom of Information requests taken care of. Brent Kopacka's military record was handed to me, 3 pages of his military record, including what all of his dates of service were, his medals, his stars that he earned, all kinds of stuff, everything he was trained in, what his role was, all of that we got for free. They didn't charge me a dime for it. And that's probably the way a lot of this should happen, but they're not going to. They're going to ask for a lot of money because MPD wants $20,000, in excess of $20,000 to respond to things. So we'll see if we can push back on that.
Yep.
I see someone in the chat is saying I guess they told Jules they're going to have the video ready on Monday.
They're going to have the hours that she wants is between midnight and 2 in the morning.
That's what someone was just saying.
Yeah, somebody was asking if I got Brett Payne's military records too. I have requested both. They've only responded with Brent Kopacka's, and that's to be understood because Brent Kopacka is deceased. They're faster than they are for replying to active or not active military, but those who are still alive. So Brett Payne's records are going to be a little slower coming. I think we're going to be able to get those as well. But when it's a deceased vet, then it's much quicker. So we did get Brent Lee Kopacka's, but yeah, we already have requests in also for Brett Payne's, to try to see if there's any overlap in dates of service and theater of operations and campaigns that they were involved in and stuff like that. I know on the surface level, we don't believe that they served together at the same time, but it would be curious if they did. And so we're looking into that as well. But
it's just someone saying, is it legal to ask for $20K? No, it's not. It's not. That's the whole point. They're going to come back with these ridiculous amount. Oh yeah, we'll give you all these body cameras. You just got to give us $100,000, or no.
Trying to price you out of it, and
they want us to just go away, but we're not going away.
Right. So, no.
So yeah, and there's steps that you have to take. Like I said before, in my early research, Idaho in particular is notorious for that, for requesting exorbitant amounts of information or money for their records, and knowing that most people will just give up. They'll just be priced out of it, and they won't do it. There are appeals that you can file, and the appeals will tell them the legal responsibility that they have and how they do not have the right to charge the money they do. But it takes time, and that's the game they're playing. In my opinion, that's the game they're playing. They know that that most people will give up on the first answer. Well, I don't have $20,000, so I'll just go away. They know you'll give up, and they know that it's a stall tactic, because now you have to come back with an appeal letter and say, I disagree with that. Here's the law that says you can't charge that money, and here is a politely worded escalation path if you don't correct the fee. And then they can come back and say, yeah, we're not. And then you can go, okay, then we are escalating it to the next step up the food chain. Here's the next agency we're going to. And then eventually they'll cave, but they're playing the long game. They know they can stall you for a long time with that shit. So,
yep.
Man, DA looks preoccupied over there. What are you?
I was reading the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, what do you got going on in your head?
I was just reading the chat. I'm super tired, and I've got a long night ahead. I got a lot of things to do at home, so I'm gonna probably need to wrap up actually. But you guys did great tonight. You guys had a bigger room than we've had in a long time, it seems like. So great job on the room tonight, and it looks like you had some guests and some cool discussions, and I only got to be part of it.
It's all Robin. It's all Robin.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. I worked late, and I had to run around before I got home.
Well, that's okay. People have lives. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, probably we don't really have time tonight, I guess. I know we're going to be wrapping up, but we definitely have some discussions for JJ with some Erica.
Oh yeah, I got
some Candace Owens and Erica stuff going on.
Yeah, man, big interesting information trickling out that it's kind of hard to verify it, but it's pretty damning if it's true.
Yeah, and I just realized I have to run unexpectedly. Do you guys want to close up for tonight without me?
Okay.
All right, I gotta run. I got something that just came up.
Okay.
All right.
Good night,
See you later.
See ya. Well, one of the things, one since you brought it up, she was talking to a guy who saw. It was what was the name of that base? Do you remember one? It was like a weird name.
Yeah.
Like Wachuga or something like that.
Yeah. I think that might be it. It was something like that, yeah.
It was an Air Force base, right?
Yeah.
That this guy who's an ex-military guy was where is that? Arizona, right?
Yes.
All right, so long story short, this guy was at this base, I guess. He had to go there, and he was staying at this hotel nearby, and he saw a guy that looked like, special forces guys. They can kind of identify each other, just like cops. You guys can kind of, body language and the way people carry themselves.
Right.
And he said this guy, he looked to me like a special forces guy. We kind of usually can identify each other. And I was going to talk to him, but I had to check in, but I was going to come back on my way out to get dinner and say hi to the guy and, have a chat with him. And when he came back, he was with a woman, and basically long and short of it is he thinks that was Erica Kirk, that she was at this military base talking to this guy who looked like a special forces guy. So that raises some questions, because Candace's whole angle is based on the fact that this was a military operation. Right. So why would Charlie's wife, if it was her, we don't know for sure at this point, why would she be meeting with a special forces kind of guy by a military base? So anyway, that was just something that she got into, and it's interesting. She's not backing down. I mean,
no,
she's still pulling on threads.
Right. Yeah, so, she was recently on. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. That she's the one thing about her, like you said, she doesn't back down from anyone. She was on Piers Morgan's show.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it was interesting.
Look,
And then did you see? It was only a small little thing. I think it was like a few days ago. Did you happen to catch Harsh Reality? Showed it was basically like it was some kind of campaign thing that Trump had in like 2015 that shows Erica in the back.
Yes, I saw
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, and then she was with some guy, and there was a kid.
Right.
But even more important, her mother looked exactly like her mother.
Right.
Was standing right in front of them. And if you got anybody listening who's followed that case at all, her mother had connections to deep state type of stuff.
Right.
So, and her father did too. But that starts to, for me, I'll tell you guys, and you tell me what you guys think about it. I'm starting to believe that, just a theory, Turning Point USA was a front company.
Yeah.
It was a front.
Very possible.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's more and more evidence that's showing that.
Right. And if you've dug into this stuff at all, which I have, who's notorious for front companies? Now, we know the CIA is.
Right.
But who does the CIA work in conjunction with? Another foreign intelligence agency. Who were the biggest donors to Turning Point? So if it was a front company, this is, I get the crux of my theory. Could it be that Erica was introduced to Charlie because they wanted him to have a handler? Someone that could be as close to him as you could get.
Yeah. Right.
And to both keep an eye on him and also have an impact on his life. And, if you have kids with somebody, they're going to have some sway over your life. And so I'm starting to think that all along, Turning Point, it developed as it started to grow. It developed based on who was funding it into an intelligence-related organization. And what do we know about intelligence organizations? They use fronts for funding for operations.
Yep.
And so her parents being connected to the military and to deep state related things, Trump introducing them, her being connected to the Trump campaign, possibly through her mother. Her mother could have been in that circle, and that's how she got into that world. And, the pageants, and she was into the pageants and things like that.
There's another guy too, right? I forget his name. Who's in that video that Harsh showed? There's another guy. There's a guy that is in that video as well. That's like a Turning Point member. I forget the name.
Yeah,
I forget his name. And he's supposedly the one that introduced Erica too.
Yep. Yeah, Charlie. I know exactly who you're talking about. He showed the pictures of the guy. Yeah, it was one of the guys that I can't remember because there's so many players in this thing, but it was one of the guys that Candace was talking about numerous times. I can't remember which guy it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's anyway. So I know the people here may not be that interested in this case, but it's kind of the type of stuff that I follow and have followed for a long time. It's interesting because I always encourage people to follow this kind of stuff because it gives you insight into the way things really work, the big picture stuff.
Right.
It's nothing is what you think it is. The media has always been intimately connected and intertwined with intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
And the banking industry has always been connected to the intelligence agencies.
It's basically Tucker Carlson's father. It's basically just a super propaganda machine.
Yeah, and also a lot of people don't know this. The CIA was started by Wall Street guys, and if you know Stuart Copeland, the drummer of the Police, the band The Police.
Yeah.
You know, the Sting, you know,
right.
The Police. Stuart Copeland's father was one of the founding members of the CIA. And Stuart Copeland did a series on Audible, you know, the audiobook app. It's called My Dad the Spy.
Mm-hmm.
And the production of it's kind of cheesy, but it's really interesting because until he was like a teenager, Stuart Copeland didn't know his father. Stuart Copeland grew up in the Middle East because his father was a station chief in the Middle East. Stuart Copeland thought his father was an oil businessman until he was a teenager. And his father wrote a book that revealed he was in the CIA after he retired. So it's very common. Big business and the intelligence agencies are one and the same. You know, and so if you think that the CIA is just about national security, that's not what they've done. No. They've been involved in big business around the world. And so if you think about Turning Point, big money involved in Turning Point, right? And so if somebody's upsetting the apple cart of a major money operation that is a front company for something bigger, which we know that Charlie was wanting to investigate that, where the money was coming from, where it was going. You wouldn't want that to get out to the public.
No.
Because how many college kids are going to want to get on board if they find that out?
Hemisphere, I see a question here. I know you're asking, is it standard practice for law enforcement to allow a potential suspect to leave the state when they're under surveillance? So we covered this on a previous show. The answer to that is, in order to stop him from leaving the state means he would be under arrest. So he might be a suspect, but they probably didn't have enough. They didn't have enough info. They didn't have enough evidence yet at that time. So someone, whether it was Molly or however they got his name and he was on their radar, they have to have enough.
Yeah.
Although, we look at the probable cause affidavit now and it's a bunch of nonsense that's in there, but you can't just say like, oh, this guy's a suspect. Yeah, I know he went across the state, but if to another state, if they don't have enough to be a probable cause at that moment, they can't stop him. I mean, they can't stop him from going across. At that point, if you're not allowing him to leave, then he's under arrest. And what evidence you have at that moment, at that time, to hold him? So it's the same as some any of these other people. Bethany left, right? She left right away. You can't just decide, we think this guy did it, we're not going to let him leave. You got to have the evidence to where you get to where you're at that that level of a stop. So that's the answer. I mean, they could try to come in contact with him in different ways and try to question him. They could try to follow him, wait till he see if he goes to McDonald's or goes to the movie theater or something and throw something out. Police and law enforcement does this stuff all the time. They may have a suspect that's in their radar, in their target, but they don't have enough at that moment. So they need a little more. And whatever the crime is, today's day and age, there's DNA all over the place normally, right? Except in the Idaho 4 case, right?
Right.
that's a typical practice that detectives or FBI or whoever would do. They'll do surveillance on such a suspect to wait till he throws out the pizza box or whatever, and then they'll try to grab Dina. Look what they did in the
Long Island.
an example. Look what they did in the Liz case. They followed the daughter on the train. They went on the train and watched her, and then they got some of her hair or whatever it was, from where she was sitting.
Yeah, the hair. Yeah. Yep.
Rochelle said something in the chat about the CIA had to admit that the media was on their payroll. DA and I did a whole Deep Devils episode about Operation Mockingbird, about the history of the media and the CIA's interconnected nature, and it goes back a long way.
Yeah,
and it's, I mean, if you know, it's one of those things you have to look into it. It's just tons of information. I mean, the mainstream book that most people have heard of that I recommend everybody read is the Confessions of an Economic Hitman, because they talk. It's a long. I won't bore you with the whole details of it. The guy basically works for the CIA.
We're heading into hour 3, hour 2 here, and I know DA doesn't like us to go long. I know he'll want you. Guys are going to be doing more about that, right? I hope.
Yeah, well, I would recommend people check that book out because he talks about the CIA's connection with front companies and things like that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say so. Well,
thank you, guys.
I guess that and everyone. I'll take Pav's line. Hold on to your hats, right? hold on to your socks. Hopefully we get this video audio released to Jules next Monday, and we might be in for a big showdown next week.
Yeah, hopefully. So thank you guys, each and every one of you out there, for coming out tonight and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it more than can ever really say, all your support. And Joe, thanks for coming on tonight. I know you're super busy with your work and everything, trying to get your channel off the ground and everything. And so we always appreciate you, coming up. And of course, our resident law expert here, 1-1. We just love it hanging out with you guys. So, and hope everyone has a wonderful night. And we'll see you guys back here again tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.